great players. They have a great organization. And you tell them one thing.
What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that is new to the channel, you guys love Raiders related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's jump right into the topic of this video. With free agency right around the corner and the Las Vegas Raiders set to have approximately $39 million in cap space after the news of us officially franchise tagging our running back Josh Jacobs, the Raiders will still have the fourth most in terms of cap space. With the Raiders having a decent amount of cap space, they should most definitely look into investing on the defensive side of the football and ideally the trenches. The Raiders need to prioritize building a solid, strong defensive line before making big splash moves for big name secondary players like Jessie Bates, or even trading for a star cornerback like Jalen Ramsey. The Raiders have a huge need when it comes to the defensive tackle position, and especially someone who can create pressure up the middle. This has been a need for the Raiders for years now, and it feels like every time we usually just sign a cheap veteran for a one-year deal, and really we have never fully addressed this need. So without further ado, let's talk about some potential free agent signings at the defensive tackle position. Now, the first guy on this list, Javon Hargrave. Javon Hargrave is coming off of an excellent season for the Philadelphia Eagles. Hargrave played in all 17 games of the season, recorded 11 sacks, 16 quarterback hits, 10 tackles for loss, and 57 total pressures. Javon Hargrave throughout his whole career has always thrived in his ability to create pressure in his pass rush, but he did struggle against the run this past season. Now, it's usually a lot easier to find defensive tackles that are solid against the run, but it's not so easy to find a defensive tackle who can create pressure up the middle. So for this reason is why I think the Raiders should consider spending big money on Javon Hargrave. I don't see the Raiders being big spenders in this free agency period overall, but if they did make a big signing, it may be just for this guy. Hargrave is 30 years of age and his market value is approximately $18 million per year. If we could sign him to a 3-year deal around that $18 million range, I would not mind this signing, but the Raiders need to just watch out and not overpay for an older defensive tackle who is somewhat one-dimensional. And if we sign Javon Hargrave, you're definitely going to have to pair this up with some other cheaper defensive tackles who can excel in stopping the run. Second guy on this list, Dalvin Tomlinson. Dalvin Tomlinson could be a name you look at if Javon Hargrave is unattainable throughout this free agency period. He's good against the run and he's decent as a pass rusher. He was only able to record 3 sacks his last season, and he's a player that won't get you anywhere close to 10 sacks a season, but he's a good, cheaper alternative if you can't get the top guy at the defensive tackle position during free agency. Tomlinson also has direct experience with working with our defensive coordinator Patrick Graham back when they played together with the New York Giants. Market value is approximately $11.7 million a year, and he is 29 years of age. Ideally for a guy like this, I would like to sign him to a 2-year deal. Now, third guy on my list is Matt Iannuzzi. Now, I also like the possibility of bringing in Matt Iannuzzi to the Las Vegas Raiders. I thought the Raiders really should have strongly pursued him last offseason before he signed with the Carolina Panthers. Now, Matt Iannuzzi would be a great guy to have in your rotation in the interior of the defensive line. He does a decent job getting pressure up the middle, and he's definitely above average against the run. Also, he could serve as a great value for the Raiders as he more than likely won't get a big contract, especially compared to some other guys on this list. Last year, he signed a 1-year, $5.9 million contract and isn't coming off of a dominant season, recording 2 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 9 quarterback hits, and 13 games played. So I think the Raiders can definitely sign him to an affordable contract, and he could be a great depth piece for the defensive tackle spot in this overall rotation. And fourth guy on this list is David Onyemata from the New Orleans Saints. Onyemata could be a solid signing. He's a guy that's not going to completely transform our defensive line, but he does really both aspects of his job pretty well when it comes to stopping the run and still being able to create some pressure up the middle. Last season, he recorded 5.5 sacks and has 207 total pressures throughout his 7-year career. He's also a guy you should be able to get at a good value. His market value is about $9.6 million according to Spot Track. So if the Raiders could sign him to like a 2-year, $20 million contract, he'd be a great addition to our defensive line. Overall, he would just be a pretty solid pickup for this defense. There's no real huge flaws to his game. There's a chance you can get him at a great value, and he would most definitely help our defensive line. And last but not least, I had to put this guy on this list, Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox was last on my list just because I think there's a strong possibility that he will return to Philadelphia. But if this guy does hit the open market, he's definitely somebody you have to consider. He's been a generational pass rusher for years now, the defensive tackle spot, and although he is getting up there in age at 32 years of age, he would still easily be the best defensive tackle we've had in years on this defense. He still shows the ability to get to the pass rusher and create havoc, and hasn't experienced any big injuries this past season, playing in all 17 games of last season, and was still able to get 7 sacks, 14 quarterback hits, and 37 total pressures. According to Spot Track, his market value is $14 million per season, and if you sign him, you can definitely only sign him to like a 1 to 2 year deal with him being up there in age. But Fletcher Cox would be a great addition to this defensive line. But look, I don't see him leaving Philadelphia, but you just never know. So Raider Nation, these are my top 5 candidates I think the Raiders should consider at the defensive tackle position through free agency. I should also add the fact that the Raiders should most definitely look into bringing back our defensive tackle Andrew Billings. He was an overall solid pickup for us on the defensive line last season, and he would be a great guy for our rotation moving forward. But Raider Nation, let me know, who do you guys want us to sign at defensive tackle position in this free agency period? With free agency right around the corner, it'll be interesting to see how the Raiders spend their money. I hope they invest a good amount of it on the defensive side of the football. It's a huge need for this team, and we definitely have the cap space. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that is all I have for you guys in today's video. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raiders related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.